Yeah. It was the Frisco Jagoffs
Yeah, it was a Frisco Jackoffs.
years ago. So this is all born out of a different
Well, no, we
location.
knew each other before that.
That's true. Yeah, we were Facebook
Because I
friends before.
brought you to the Jackoffs.
And it is Fired Up Friday. This is Rick in Studio USA. And we are still building the plate in midair. And I'm hoping everybody can hear me. But we are testing a new set of combined formats today. We've got Mr. Thank You in the house for Fired Up Friday. And we've also got MissInformed down at the far end there.
How you doing?
What's up, everybody? Y'all fired up?
So fired up for Friday.
All right.
Let's do it.
Today, we're doing a couple of different things. We got the mindset aspect of Fired Up Friday. And so for those of you that don't know Mr. Thank You, I have seen him speak in front of 500 people. And basically, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Everybody was into it, engaged, and he kept everybody just enthralled by the whole time. And so the biggest thing I took away from this is the overarching sense of gratitude in everything and approaching everything with the mindset of gratitude. And so for those of you that know me, being sober for 19 years, one of the recurring themes is a gratitude list.
Yeah.
And so that's a very simplified way of introducing you as far as like your overall thing. But I'll let you go into a little bit more detail.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I appreciate that tee up and the Mr. For me, my world really, I'm a business person. I'm a salesperson by heart. So I got a job selling Cutco knives when I was 19.
Nice.
That's kind of how my world started, as any good entrepreneur does, right?
Right.
You got to start selling knives or something. And so for me, I never got into sales or business because I love it. Right, I get it because I needed to make money, and I think that a lot of people who have a natural acumen to connect with people often get drawn into sales. Now, the challenge inside of that is, by the time I was in my early 30s, I actually built a very successful career, making more money than anyone in my family, and I was overworked, overwhelmed, and so unfulfilled. I was just ready to walk away from all of it. And get a real job, right? Like one of those real jobs where you don't have to prospect, you don't have to look for new customers, you just get to have things handed to you, and it's a lot less stress. But I knew that wasn't going to work. I knew I couldn't just get an employee job. So for me, I sought the support of a coach. So I hired a coach to work with me. And the business that I was running at the time in 2016 was a gifting company. So Mr. Thank You is the name of it. So we started as a strategic gifting firm.
I love that, by the way.
Love what?
Love that. It being a gifting company. That's cool. And
Yeah,
branding.
Not many people know a professional gifting company, but yes, I was like a professional Santa Claus, right? People would pay me to figure out a gifting strategy and give away presents to all of their favorite people, their clients, their team. Like, it's a real job. And but just like any other sales job, it is a sales job. So you got to prospect, you got to find new clients, you got to constantly be grinding. And so my coach was really focused on, John, what's important about fulfillment, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Are you living your values in the work that you do? Now, the values that we had, like our mission at Mr. Thank You, we'd already written this out, was to elevate the level of gratitude on the planet, right? Like when we made it, it was this very purposeful, that's why we exist. However, there's a great quote that my coach also gave me at the time, from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and what he says was, excuse me, I cannot hear what you are saying because who you are speaks so loudly. Mm-hmm. And what I love and simultaneously don't love about that quote is it challenges us to be consistent with our word. It challenges us to not just say, hey, this is what I care about, this is what matters to me, but to like prove it in our behavior. Because we can all day long put our values and our mission on our business cards and paint it on the wall, but at the end of the day, if people closest to you, if you ask them and said, hey, what does this person value, what would they actually say? Like, people would say some nice things about me, driven, successful, but they would not say grateful to describe me. So I thought, how can I be this guy who says he's about elevating gratitude on the planet, but I don't embody it in my life at all? Mm-hmm. So what we sought to do was to find a way to embody this value of gratitude. So we were looking at habit formation. There's a great book called The Power of Habit. by Charles Duhigg. This is a precursor to Atomic Habits. And the concept he shares is what's called a keystone habit. Now, a keystone habit is a single habit you have with a trickle-down positive effect in multiple areas of life. And we can all understand this when you think about working out. Working out is a keystone habit because, number one, it's going to make you feel better, look better because of that. Two, because you're working out, you're going to sweat a lot, which means you're going to drink a lot of water. That's a secondary habit. Third habit is because you're working out, you're going to be more fatigued, so you sleep better at night. So there's all these benefits from one singular habit. So my coach just kind of pulls it all together and says, hey, so what is a singular habit you can create around gratitude? And that's where this whole idea became about a year-long project. And so I'll summarize it by saying, so for 1 year, I made this commitment to handwrite 5 thank you cards every single day for 365 days in a row. There were 4 rules. Every card had to be handwritten. Every day reset at 0. Okay, so I couldn't skip 3 days and write 20.
Right.
Third rule is I could write a max of 3 cards per any one person. So I couldn't write them to the same people over and over. I had to constantly be looking for different people to appreciate, which is an interesting challenge because in some ways it's actually very good to have this type of challenge as a salesperson because you're now encouraged to go meet and engage with people.
I love that idea.
Yeah, it was really fascinating. The final piece was for any and every day that I would miss writing my 5 cards, I would donate $1,000 to charity. So that's what was at stake for an entire year. So it was sort of like this like game we pushed the play button on, and it was like, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm committed to this through and through for 1 year, and we'll see what happens. So that's kind of how it started.
Did you end up having to donate?
I did. So I missed 1 day, and I say 1 day maybe because part of the project was when you're thinking about that many people to appreciate, you forget, wait, did I write that person a card, or did I think about writing them a card? Because every day it's 5 new people, so I had to keep a running list of who I wanted to write one for, and I actually had a spreadsheet of who I did write them to. So at the end of one night, I remember writing what I thought was my 5th card. The next day, I'm tracking it on my spreadsheet, and I could not think of the 5th person.
Uh-oh.
So either I did and I forgot, or I didn't and I screwed up, and so either way I paid $1,000.
What charity did you pick?
So it's called the Front Row Foundation. So it was started by a good friend of mine. They take people with a life-threatening illness to the front row of the event of their dreams.
Oh my gosh.
So like Taylor Swift or Maroon 5 or a Cowboys game or Eagles game, something like that.
Nobody wants to go to an Eagles game. Don't be
Not
ridiculous.
here in Texas,
Don't
no.
be ridiculous.
That was a bad example. Apologies, Cowboy fans.
That's really neat.
Yeah, so that's what a whole year-long project unfurled, and it was just a life-changing, business-altering experience.
So now what are you doing?
Yeah, so what's funny is that we still run our gifting company, but what started to occur was as I was doing this project, it was 2 things. Number one, it was deeply impacting me because I was suddenly having to be this person who every day is forcing myself to be grateful. That sounds contradictory, but you can force yourself to do anything.
You're forming habits of gratitude.
And it was like kind of restructuring the way that I have to view the world for this to work, because there was a huge consequence. If I miss, I got to pay $1,000. So I've got to figure stuff out. So a lot of it was learning as I went, and ultimately I started getting asked to share stories from the experience on different stages, and that worked into, hey, are you going to write a book about this? You have so many stories. So then I wrote a book about it, and then I got offered to give a TED Talk, so I gave a TED Talk on it, and then that worked into teaching companies and organizations the competitive advantage of gratitude. So that's where I will come to a lot of different events around the country, and we'll teach this as a framework in one of 2 ways. One is how do you build deep, meaningful relationships that stand the test of time? Like everybody says they want loyalty, but what are you actively doing to create that thing that you say you want? The other side of this is how do you be a high-performing individual who does not get burnt out in your work? And so I think gratitude is really this glue, this piece that when you apply it, it kind of hits 2 things at once. And so for a lot of what I do now, it's keynote speaking, training. We still run our gifting company. I'm not as actively in the field with that, but I still run that. But a lot of my energy is in our training business, and I do some coaching consulting. So That's my world.
So I have a two-part question now, because you're such an interesting person, and I just absolutely adore the concept. So after doing the cards for a year, give me the short and skinny. Like, what came from it? What did you learn from it? What kind of takeaway can you have as like going through the process? If it was like a science experiment, you had your hypothesis, you had your testing. Like, what is our end result? What happened to your life? Did it get better? Did you find that gratitude?
Yeah. So here's a couple things. Number one is gratitude. What's funny is I think when people sometimes hear that I talk on gratitude, it's a little bit of an eye roll. It's like, all right, I get it. Be more grateful. I understand. And so here's the thing to understand. It's easy to be grateful when things are going your way. When things are going well, if I just said, hey, what are you grateful for? It's easy to just look at, oh, well, I woke up today, or this happened, or my kid did something nice for another kid. I saw it on the playground, or something like that. We can find those. The interesting challenge, Missy, was learning how to be grateful when you don't feel like it. And that is actually a lot harder than it sounds. So like here's a great example, which is one of the days. So I'm a huge NCAA basketball fan. So I went to a small school called Gonzaga University. We have a really good basketball program. During this project, 2017, my team made it to the NCAA national championships, right? Huge deal for the entire school. We're all watching.
Awesome.
Right. And then we lose terribly.
Correct.
Ugly, bad game. And it's funny. I'm not a huge sports guy, but I've always seen at the end of a Super Bowl, they'll show the winning team downtown and everyone's celebrating, and then they show the losing team and like they're flipping over cars and lighting trash cans on fire. And I never understood it until that day, because I was deeply saddened and depressed. And it's 9:00 at night. My wife puts the kids to bed, and I'm sitting here with 5 thank you cards laid out, and I got $1,000 on the line. If I don't write these cards, then I'm going to have to pay $1,000. And here's the thing: I couldn't do it. I could not harness an ounce of gratitude because I was just so upset and angry.
Yeah.
And so that's where there's this statement where, you can't be angry and grateful at the same time. So you have to learn how to deal with it.
Interesting.
Now, so here's how I learned to deal with it in that moment, because you got to figure this out. I had to figure this out. So the best definition of the word gratitude is by Dr. Robert Emmons. And he's the foremost researcher on gratitude at University of California, Davis. So here's what he says. Gratitude is the emotion one feels when you receive a gift or experience something as a gift. Now, when we break that down a little bit, it makes sense, because gratitude is the emotion we feel when someone gives us a gift. Well, what is that? When you receive something unexpected, you didn't ask for it, you didn't necessarily do anything to deserve it, you feel gratitude, that surprise, right? Well, there's also this other side of experiencing something as a gift, right? So we can look at early in our life when we had maybe our first breakup, right? And I don't know about you, but I remember mine deeply, which was a girl who broke up with me and then asked out my best friend on a date, like the next day.
Oh, dear.
You ask a kid in that moment, where's the gift in this experience? What are you grateful for? They're going to flip you the bird. They're going to be like, no, there's nothing good. Women are terrible.
No.
Men are terrible, whatever. But here's the interesting fact. With time and perspective, we can look back on those experiences and we can say, well, I'm glad that happened.
Yeah.
Because that happened, I learned all these things that I needed to learn. I could not have learned any other way. Also, because that happened, I met this amazing human being that I was meant to be with, that I started a family with. So we can actually look back on painful experiences and feel gratitude. So the question becomes, how long does it take you to feel gratitude from a painful experience? And the answer is as long as it takes you to find the gift.
I dig it.
So it's 9:00 at night. I'm at my desk. Cards are laid out, and I'm thinking, where's the gift? What's the good here?
Oh, man.
Where's the lesson? And this light bulb went off, and it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't watch my team lose the national championship. I just watched arguably the best team in my school's history. Like, this deserves to be celebrated. So I'm going to write a thank you card to every single member of the Gonzaga men's basketball team and the entire coaching staff.
In my head, that's what I was hoping you were going to do. To provide the players.
And so over the next 7 days, I'm doing research. I don't want to just write bland, basic cards, I want to be thoughtful and specific of what did each player do, what were some of their big games, or some things specifically they brought to the team. Even for the red shirts, I wrote, hey, championship teams aren't made in the championship game. They're made with every practice that led up to that. So thank you for helping our team become the best that our school's ever had. And so here was the crazy thing, Missy, is that by the end of that, not even by the end of the day, the moment I made that, I had that awareness, which was not that, oh, life is hard, I just watched my team lose, but wow, no, I got to witness the greatest performance, the greatest team in our school's history. It was this momentary shift from total depression, upset, anger to pure joy and actually meaning it. And so that was such a valuable thing, because then I started to look at, if I can do that in not months, not weeks, not days, moments, minutes, what in my life have I experienced that has been painful, that I have been not allowing myself to find the gift? So it actually became, like Rick was talking about, with the 12-step program. I've actually had a lot of people who've been in recovery come and talk to me about their own experience of what helped them through their recovery was the ability to go back on their pain, to go back into their life experiences, and to be able to ask the question, where is the gift in this? And even if it's not necessarily a good thing that happened, but it brought them through to a place of stability and recovery eventually, there's value in that.
Absolutely.
So that was, by and large, one of the greatest lessons that I learned, that, we hear from people all the time that, they've applied that principle to their life. Can I share the final part of that story?
Please.
Okay, so here's the crazy part. So that happens. I forget I even do this, because it's like Groundhog Day. Every day resets. 5 new cards, 5 new cards, 5 new cards. So I forget I even do this. 2 months later go by. On my birthday of all days, May 21st, I'm out to dinner with my wife, and she pulls something out of her purse, and she says, oh, by the way, this came for you in the mail today. And it's an envelope addressed from Gonzaga men's basketball. And I open it up, and it is a handwritten letter from Mark Few, the head coach of Gonzaga men's basketball, thanking me for being an alumni, thanking me for writing all the letters that I did for the team and how much they meant to them during the moment they came home after a really huge loss.
They needed it.
And just appreciating me as an alumni. And I have this thing, and this guy's worth millions of dollars. He makes millions of dollars a year. He has all the biggest sponsorships you could think. And if everything he did with his time, he chose to write one fan a thank you card. And so when we talk about, sometimes I think this idea of thank you cards can be viewed as this obligatory thing you should do, right? Oh, we got married. Oh, we got to send thank you cards for gifts. Oh, we graduated high school or college. Oh, I have to send cards out to everyone who gave me a gift. Oh, someone gave me a referral in business. I've got to send them a card. Like, we feel this, like, gratitude really becomes this obligation versus this opportunity to truly experience what I would call one of God's greatest emotions that he gave us to experience here on earth, which is truly to realize that, like, life is a gift. Just the fact that you get another day here. As a gift. So there's so much that came out of it. That was a big part, and I'll never forget that experience. And so I apply that principle all the time to my life to this day.
I think it's great, and it's going to encourage others around you to kind of walk in that same, in those footsteps, and continue to spread gratitude through the world, like your original goal. How can you make the world better? Well, you're showing us. You're showing us the way right now with projects like this. I think that's cool. Well,
and I think that's a great segue as we look at, like, businesses, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people who are watching this probably run a business. They might be in real estate. They might be in insurance, financial services. And I bet in some way, shape, or form, like, you have a mission statement. You have values. You have things that you say you care about. Here's my question for you. If you asked your top 10 customers what your values are as a business, what your mission is as a company, without you ever telling them, what would they say?
I love it. I think that's a really interesting question. I run a few different businesses, so I don't know what they would say other than I answer my phone. I don't even know what to tell you on that. You kind of got me off on the side. I don't know what people would say about me. I know what my mom would say. And I know what my 14-year-old would say. And that's it. My mother would say, oh, she's the I really love the concept of gratitude, and I think that now more than ever, people really need that, because after COVID, I think we're all still trying to catch our bearings, even still to this day, and depression is just running rampant still with a lot of people, and I think with society having their heads on their phone, we're not really socializing the best way that we could be, and so I think that putting stuff like this out there is just kind of a good template to encourage people, which is what they need, you know. I've always been an extreme optimist my entire life. And I don't like to sit in sad moments. I think it's okay to learn from them, like you were discussing. But I kind of view life as it's a roller coaster. You have good and you have bad. And when you go through the bad, it's kind of like walking through mud. You don't stop and just sit in the mud, because then you're going to sink. You need to keep on going, and then you shake the mud off, wipe it on the grass, and then eventually it dries, cracks, falls off, and there's the sunshine. You're going to be okay. Sitting in it is just going to prolong and draw out more misery, and I think that just moving through it is and progressing is how you're going to get to that gratitude, like you're talking, that time, however long it takes to heal and to be able to reflect back and find that lesson so that you can be more grateful for it. I think that those are the key elements for how I stay happy. And let me tell you, my life is not easy, and there is mud everywhere. But I keep walking, and I think that's extremely helpful. I think it's so cool. But I want to, with all the different businesses I have, can we just talk about your Mr. Thank You business and where I can go and what you have there? Because I'm interested.
Sure. So Mr. Thank You, we started as a strategic gifting company, and that's still what we do. Really, who I am for the world and who I am for people is we are the source of elevating your most important relationships. So when we look at gifting, we look at it from this perspective of not just like, hey, let's just do a tchotchke, let's do a thing, let's do some branding, let's send something out. We want to be thoughtful, we want to be impactful, we want this to be a gift that your client gets and they take a picture of and they post it on social media and they're like, oh my gosh, look at what so-and-so just sent me. And they are filled with these positive emotions, and they're associating them with you. And so, one of my good friends and mentors, John Rulin, he has this great quote, is that a gift is an artifact of the relationship. Right? So if you've been given a really meaningful gift, ideally for us, we like to find something that is going to last a long time, something that the client will use. It's going to be displayed. It's going to be used by the whole family. They're going to wear it. Something about it.
Often.
Right. So every time they see it, they're going to think of you, right? Now, what do we do as business people? We're constantly trying to market. We want to keep our face in front of people. We're sending emails. We're doing postcards. We're doing all sorts of different things. But at the end of the day, it just is in a sea of noise of everybody else who wants their attention, right? So if you can send a thoughtful, personal gift, so I'll give you an example. So there's a particular individual that I met on a plane flight, and she was in the financial services industry. And she was just a sharp young woman, really like up to big things. Well, and we had a conversation because we're both Christian, and we were talking about faith. I'm married and she's not. So she's talking about the difficulty of finding a good husband and all these different things. And at the end of it, it's just, he says, we each said, as we do in the Christian world, we say, how can I pray for you? Right. And so that was like her prayer request, was finding a good Christian guy. And so, in my brain, whenever I'm reflecting on after I meet somebody, here's what my brain does. And this is maybe a helpful thing to think about. How do I help this person feel honored, valued, and fully seen based on the conversation and experience we just had? Now, the simplicity of it is I could just write her a thank you card. I could write them something to say, hey, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Love that you're caring about these things, and this is what you're up to. I could do that. And so what I think of is like, how can I bring a gift in that will also embody that? So I took, we're still very big fans of Cutco. We use Cutco a lot in our business. It's got a shout out to Cutco, right? So we take a Cutco knife, and I looked for a very specific encouraging biblical verse. And I had it engraved on this knife. And I sent it to the woman with just a handwritten card and just some letters of some words of encouragement. A couple days later, first of all, she sends a picture of it to me and was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. She posted on social media. Great. Of course, that's nice. What I find out like a month later, she sends me a picture. She said, I just want to let you know where your gift is. She got it framed in a shadow box. It is hanging on her wall. It's like a piece of art. And when I think of, well, that wasn't the goal. I think that's cool that happened. And it's neat that every time that she walks into her office, there's a little bit of a memory point of like, I like that guy. He's a great human being. So when we look at as a business owner, as a company, how do we create what I like to call positive emotional resonance? When people think of you, your product or service, what do they feel? And so the moment, because I bet you could take something that you've had a bad experience with, and when someone talks about like, oh, a travel agent, instantly if someone said that, I would have a negative experience.
Oh no.
Because I went somewhere and we had a total just dirtbag of a travel agent, completely fraudulently sent us somewhere and took a bunch of our money, and it's like, oh my God. Like, so I have negative emotional resonance around travel agents. A new travel agent I might meet is gonna have to overcome that. Now, if you're a real estate agent, right, and you've done a phenomenal job with a client, and you've created this positive emotional resonance, when they hear real estate, when they think of it, they're gonna have positive emotions that come up. So you have to think about when you're a business owner, not everyone loves what you do or has had a great experience.
Facts.
So you have to recreate what their experience needs to be about the product or service that you do. So we think gifting is a great way to do that. And so really, I love gifting, especially at the end of an interaction, the end of in the business world, at the end of a significant transaction. I think it's a valuable time to send a gift out. But here's, if we're going to look at it from a business sense, what it also does is that gift then sparks the second conversation, right? In one of the things that all business people talk about is, oh, I know I need to follow up. I need to get better at follow-up. Well, here's the thing. When you put gifting into your business as a strategy, whether it be quarterly, monthly, post-closing, whatever it is, you now have a mechanism that if it's done well and it's sent out at the right time with the right messaging, you're going to get people who reply back and say, oh my gosh, what a thoughtful gift. Thank you so much. That is a perfect moment to then say, hey, by the way, I would love to reconnect and just chat about a couple things. You want to grab some coffee? Hey, I would love to just catch up since you've moved into your house. I would love to check in with you after we've completed XYZ project. Sure, yeah, absolutely. It's easiest to ask for something after you've added value.
I 100% agree. And I just really want to echo what you're saying because I think that it's so important. Gift giving is my love language. I love to gift. And I really...
Which, case in point, you did that today.
Oh,
right?
Well, I never like to come into a place empty-handed. I never like to meet friends and, make new friends empty-handed. Like I always have something. Like there's always something in my hands. So one of the things I do is real estate, and I've been doing it for 10 years. And every time I do a listing appointment, I'll bring something, whether it's like a small plant, I picked a FICA or something I picked up at Walmart on the way, or something along those lines, but it's some kind of physical something, a treat, whatever. And then every time I do open houses, I'll leave something behind in the house for the homeowners to have later. Or whenever they close, I get, the little house cardboard with the cookies in it or whatever. I mean, like there's always something. And I feel like, I'm telling you guys, I really feel like it just, people, it makes you, it's thoughtful and it makes them appreciate that you took the time to consider them more. I feel like I've had zero clients be mad at me or be upset with me or had a bad transaction. And I mean, I'm not like, just slinging real estate left and right here. I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years, but I'm not the best. I'm not the worst. And I work hard, but I've had zero bad experiences. And I think a lot of it has to do with me being intentional, attentive, and the gift giving, because it shows that I'm genuine and that what's the way to say this? They're special. And because they are. I love people. I love what I do because I love people. Like you said with sales, I've done sales my whole life as well. And I believe whenever you make people feel special, then they're going to bloom a little bit more, and then you get a better experience with them either in business or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, we want to be around them. We want to support their initiatives. We want to help them succeed. You know, and a good point, by the way. So our shout out to my realtor who we use. His name is JT Hardcastle. So JT's out in the Frisco Prosper area. So JT's been a buddy of mine for a while. It's an interesting thing, by the way. I work with literally thousands of realtors. So it's like, how do you pick one, right? And so JT really stuck out for me because number one, we have similar values. We have the same number of kids. We're almost the same age. We often tend to work with people who are a lot like us.
Sure.
But so here was what was cool. JT's also a client, so he's used us for gifting strategy, and so we helped him with that. And so ultimately, we're using him to sell our house or sell and buy. So he got a double side here. Now the funny thing is like, well, so what's he going to do? Is he going to send us one of our gifts? Like what's going to happen here?
Oh no! What a conundrum.
But here's the great thing: is JT's a very thoughtful guy, and so we sold a house in Plano, just like a traditional suburban house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of property, but just. We wanted to get some land, so we moved out to Blue Ridge, Texas, right?
Oh,
So
up
in the corner of Collin County. So about 1,000 people there. We bought 6 acres, and when we went out for the first time to view the land, we brought him with us because we needed to bring a realtor to be able to view the property. So it's beautiful, and there's this huge open field that's a part of the land. And so when we started to go walk through that land, it's a really neat visual of like my kids were kind of like running through this really tall grass. I'm holding one of our daughters. My wife is next to me holding my hand. And he just, with his iPhone, took a picture, right? I didn't know that. So he hits me up, I think a week or two after closing and says, hey, by the way, something should be coming in the mail for you soon. Just keep an eye out. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right. Closing gift. We'll see what it is. And I open it, and it's this beautifully framed picture of that photo he took on the iPhone of the first moment we viewed our property.
Oh,
and
it's
just this really like a traditional, any other human,
thoughtful. JT,
any other person who sees that picture is going to be like, field. You guys, cool.
For you,
it doesn't mean anything to most people, but to us, it's literally the first time, because this was going to be our forever home. This is our forever home. We wanted, he caught that memory.
I love it.
And so, I don't know how much a picture costs him with framing, $100, $150, but we're going to keep it. We're going to hang it up. We're going to use it.
And it's special.
Right. Now, on the side of services, we don't actually do that. We don't do any framing. We don't do printing. That's not what we actually do. And I don't necessarily care what gifts a client chooses. It's more about, does it hit those things that matter, right? So we have a framework we teach called the TIME framework: timing, item, messaging, and execution. Timing is make sure the gift is unexpected. We don't recommend giving a gift on closing day. It gets lost in the shuffle. People forget about it. Their house is in boxes. They're super emotional. They're not going to really experience it. So 2 is item, which is what we talked about. Something useful every day. They're going to see it, experience it, have a positive emotional memory. M is messaging. What do you say with it, right? And so what he put in the letter was like, hey, man, it's been so great to support you and your family on this journey. When I caught this moment, I just knew this is a special thing to hang on to, and I wanted you to have it. Oh, my God, nailed it. E is execution, which is like pulling it all together, right? Can you do these things at scale? Now, this is clearly a one-off thing in real estate. Maybe you're not necessarily doing 10 or 20 deals a month where it's hard to scale this. But, he was able to do that in a way that was, probably didn't take him too much time. Literally, his phone. He probably uploaded it to an app and ordered it. Might have taken him 15 minutes, but it had this really profound impact on the relationship. So that's what I think about in business is, my philosophy is we are all one relationship away from changing our life and our business. You make the right impression with the right person, they open up not one door, but like 100. And they're your advocate. They fight for you. They want you to get shelf space. They want everybody to know about you. So in my world, how I look is how can I create more of those relationships? Rick and I were talking beforehand about everyone has like a business plan. They have a marketing plan. But how many of us have a relationship plan? How many of us have a plan of how we're going to build our key level relationships next year? So that's one of the things that we teach people is we teach them how to do that.
I love it. I love it very much. I think that people are the most important thing to be focused on when it comes to relationships. I mean, I do love my dogs very much. I've got 2 little weenie dogs, and I love them more than anything. And I think they are the best. But being nice to them doesn't really get a whole lot except, pee on the floor and good snuggles. So, I mean, I've got to work those relationships with people, and that's why it's good to have companies like what you have to offer, so that maybe someone who's in the gift giving can tee up to have some things kind of in the chute for my clients. So I think it's wonderful just to know about your business, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we work really good with people who are not good gifters because those are the ones that are often our clients. So they're like, I know I need to do this. It's just not in my zone. Like, can you do this for us? That's kind of who we serve a lot. So
I love it. I love it. You know, one of the things that I'm most thankful for this year as far as gifting is the studioUSA that just came up and that I'm going to be able to bring back my show, MissInformed. I had my radio show for 9 years, and it was over in Frisco and Hall Park. And I started it up when I got my real estate license. I met this wonderful, beautiful man inside and out. Well, I mean, more inside than out. He's not that much of a looker. You know who you are, Mark. I'm just kidding. We started the radio. He had a radio show, KVGI. I don't know if anybody out there remembers KVGI, but it was a internet radio station, and it we went hard for 9 years, and COVID hit, and I ran off to the beach to build sandcastles and make a baby with my husband, and now we're back, and so it's going to get to come back up. And you know, I've been looking for the past 2 years to find someone to put it with that I trust, because it's like my baby, you know. I mean, I love my kids, but I mean, the show was, you know, something that I worked on for a really long time, and I was fortunate enough to develop a lot of really good relationships with it, and I absolutely couldn't just put it with anybody. And then Rick came and he was like, I'm opening up a studio. And I was like, yes, thank you, Jesus. I was so happy. So I just want to say that I am extremely thankful for you, Rick, and that I'm really grateful that the studio is open. And my gratitude for you is through the roof. And it's my favorite thing that's gone down this year, because I get to do what I love, and it's being facilitated through you. So thank you so much. I'm extremely grateful.
Well, right back at you, and thanks to both of you for coming in. So what people don't know is we're absolutely building the plane in midair. So none of this was planned. This was totally off the cuff. Missy let me know that she was able to come in about 17 minutes before she got here. And we were just kind of batting around the ideas of like, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to do a couple of different formats. And today we just threw it all in the blender. So MissInformed is back. Mr. Thank You was here again. The best part of that is I knew he could talk, so I wasn't worried about that. So that's why I knew that she and I described Missy as bonkers in the best of all possible ways. And so I could absolutely, speaking of trust, I could trust you to, if I hand you the ball with no playbook, you took it, ran, that was 30 minutes of kick-ass content, if I do say so myself. And it gave me the chance to duck out and go monkey with the knobs and make sure everything was dialed in and sounding good. So thank you guys. I absolutely want to do this again.
I think your plane's built. I think it's no longer being built in midair. I think we're flying. We just got to stop for fuel every so often. I think you're good to go.
Let's just fly low to the ground. Just fly low to the ground.
Fair enough.
Is it good?
Fair enough. And with that, we are out on this latest iteration of Fired Up Friday. Back for more later. Thanks.